Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Akai Katana Shin, another cave shoot 'em up ported to modern systems. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Originally from developer Cave, Akai Katana released to arcades in 2010. In 2011, it would receive a notable Xbox 360 port, Akai Katana Shin, though outside of Japan, that release was simply known as Akai Katana. Now jump to 2022, and courtesy of developer City Connection, Akai Katana Shin is now available for the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox, and the PC via Steam. Though at the time of this recording, it's only available worldwide on the PC via Steam. If this follows City Connection's previous Cave releases, then it should be available worldwide relatively shortly. Though you don't have to worry about importing it though. The game is available in not just Japanese, but also English, Spanish, and French. From the release off of, at least with this Switch version, off of the eShop. I'm assuming the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox versions are also the same. And price-wise, right now with the exchange rate, it's pretty equivalent to import the title via digital methods as it would be to pick it up off Steam, though it is possible to pick this up physically from import retailers, so do keep that in mind. This is a title that I do highly encourage you to check out, as if you're a fan of specifically horizontal scrolling bullet hells and cave shoot 'em ups in particular, this one is a must play. I've had a great time with it, and I feel like the taste is just immaculate. So with all that said, let's dive into the gameplay itself. First off, we do have the menus, and there's actually 3 versions of the game present. So we do have the titular Akai Katana Shin. Then we've got the arcade version, which is Akai Katana, and this one is notable as it's the only version you can play 2-player. There is some slowdown, but it's still a really enjoyable experience, and if you pick up this version, I highly encourage you to find a partner and play this one in 2-player as well. We also have this another arranged version, Zetsu Akai Katana, or Akai Katana Zetsu. And once again, we find ourselves back to Shin. This is the version we'll be playing today. It is possible to turn on novice mode for both the arcade version, Akai Katana, and Shin. And we'll do that just to make things a little easier on myself. Then when you click deploy, we're taken to the character select. There's 3 characters you can choose between, Tsubaki, Botan, and Shion. For our purposes today, we'll play as Botan. There's a little bit of a homing element to her attack mode, and I'll kind of explain that in just a moment. So in a lot of ways, this one is kind of my preferred. So right off the bat, I do love the visual presentation going on here. You've got some great looking sprites, some wonderful backgrounds. Although the colors aren't as vibrant in this stage, there are some stages that really do look excellent. You also have the really nice, well-defined enemy shots. But let's talk about the mechanics of our shots. So there's 2 primary attack modes that we have for our particular fighter. So we've got our what's known as defensive mode, and this is basically your cave rapid fire mode, where you have higher speed and rapid fire shot, or you can go to what's known as your attack mode. So with attack mode, this is more like your usual cave laser mode, where you are holding down your main attack button. And in this one, you've got your main the fighter itself, and you do have an orb, and depending on which mode you're in, one will be stronger than the other. So let's see, your plane is stronger in defensive mode, your orbital is like stronger in attack mode. But there's another really awesome element to Akai Katana, and that's if you press the right button when you have energy built up, you can switch to a Phantom. And the Phantom itself has some really neat mechanics, largely having to do with the scoring of the game itself. So when we're in the fighter mode, the plane mode, depending on which mode we're in, using defensive mode or attack mode, we'll get one of two kinds of orbs. So in attack mode, you get energy, which basically allows you to transform into phantom mode. In defensive mode, you get these still orbs. And those still orbs allow us to use some of the really awesome mechanics that are new to Akai Katana Shin. So basically, when we move to phantom mode, if we happen to have these steel orbs like built up, then we can send those orbs out towards like the enemies with like the intent of bullet canceling and building up yet another type of collectible item. Let's see if we can go and show it off here. And that collectible item is like katanas, which you can send at the enemy to deal massive damage and generate tons of gold point items. And that's basically how you would be building high scores in this particular mode. It's really like interesting and awesome because there's the bullet cancels involved, but the timing and the modes themselves are really tricky. So you have to like work on transitioning to build up your energy, then like build up the orbs, switch over to your phantom mode, fire the steel orbs, which you do by changing to focus fire while you're in phantom mode, and then ultimately canceling out of phantom mode manually to launch those swords to deal massive damage with like a lot of points. Basically, it's a really confusing, kind of like a mind-bending but really fun system to work on mastering. Unfortunately, one problem that I feel this release has is there's no manual present to really explain the systems of this or the other titles. Fortunately, there are some resources online to find that, or you can look and try and find a version of the original 360 release's manual, which does explain these systems as well. Although the game modes are titled differently in that one. I believe Shin is actually referred to as Slash in the Rising Star release. So that is something to keep in mind. Oh, another neat feature of being in Phantom mode. So there are red lasers that specifically bosses, but some enemies as well, will launch at you throughout the course of the game, and you'll take. It won't be an instant life loss like most of the bullets. You can take multiple laser hits before you lose a life. However, if you're in Phantom mode, you won't actually take like damage from those red lasers. So something that's like pretty neat with the mode itself. And yeah, one of the things that I just like find so awesome about this particular like game are just all those modes where you're swapping between like collecting orbs using the defensive mode, the attack mode, swapping to phantom, all those like that's really the bread and butter of this particular mode. The other, the base Akai Katana, like the scoring of that one largely revolves around moving back and forth between just your fighter mode and your phantom mode, and there's some different scoring for the Zetsu as well. So really you've got 3 different versions of the game to master with this particular release, which is, I think, awesome. So with that said, once again, it would be really, really wonderful if the game had a manual or tutorial to teach you those various modes, and that's my biggest minus flavor on it. The other one that I could note is I do wish that there was multiplayer available for the other two modes, not just the base arcade mode, but as is, like, there is like slow down playing 2-player with the base arcade version. So I'm assuming that was probably done just because it would ultimately be a bit too taxing on like the systems themselves. As far as the plus flavors are concerned, so at least referring to Shin, I love trying to figure out and master the attack, or rather the scoring systems that are going on here. And I haven't even like talked about necessarily the combo meter that you're building up the whole time. Partially because I still don't quite get it myself. But then there's also just like the beautiful presentation and the graphics. I love the mecha design that the game has, just that kind of like alternate history design that, well, in particular I feel like Cave just does like so excellent with their various mecha designs, and like this game is no exception, to be sure. And the release itself, I feel, is truly excellent. Having those like 3 versions, although in some ways it would be nice to see some extra bells and whistles added to a modern release. I still feel that the whole experience comes together really well, and it's one that I feel is a taste you should experience 100%. This is one that I do recommend. Alright, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope you yourself have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next time.